Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and welcome to Fairground Fridays. And in today's edition, we'll be looking at this amusement park space ride. Ooh! So before we get started on today's build, I did think I'd show you some amendments to the farm that was suggested by you. And the first one is to use that new corncob suit to put somebody with a camera and some conspiracy theories on a 2x2 tile from the Alien Conquest line near the cornfield to get evidence that corn circles are indeed made by aliens. So I haven't decided whether he should be really in the field, but it just seemed a bit close. But the other side of the fence camouflaged made him very visible, and it quite a funny scene. So a lot of people suggested that, but it was such a brilliant idea, it was bound to happen. So thanks very much for that one. Other changes have been this one, which is a bit grim really, but I recently got in that brick hall a face with coffee or cocoa splattered in a lady's face. That was the Freya McLeod minifigure, and someone suggested I use it on the vet who's at the back end of the pig, and I'm just hoping that it's mud and not something else. So do tell me if you like that. The old face was quite good and it was sort of laughing and very jolly. But is that grim scene better? It's pretty funny, isn't it? So thanks for that. Another really little one was, since we decided not to have the beekeeper on the farm, but to have it in the city instead, having a wild beehive kind of attached to a tree would just add a bit of shape and colour. So I think that's a really good idea as well. So thanks for that. Then we've got some manure in what was an empty wheelbarrow. And that may explain the really grumpy and mardy face on this guy, because he is downwind from some serious pong. So that is a good addition as well. And then it only remains to add the most amazing part of the last brick haul, which was the gift from Alex of a goat. And here is the majestic goat. And because he's so majestic, I thought I'd mount him on a pile of hay bales, but these aren't ordinary hay bales. They're actually woven out of pure gold, because he's such a valuable goat. They only feed him gold hay. So I thought that was quite funny. And it kind of marks the generosity of Alex in giving me an incredibly valuable and very desirable goat. So I thought I'd have him perched on that right in the middle of the scene on a gold set of hay. So how about that? Hey, hey. Right, let's go down to the building desk and get on with today's video. Yes, so this is the set that I've decided to start off the Fairground Fridays series with. It's set 41128, Amusement Park Space Ride from 2016. And as you can see, that is a Friends set, and it came with kind of a little ticket booth and a little sort of ice cream thing. But I haven't got those because I bought this second hand, so it was incredibly cheap and effective. Now, what I really like about this set is not just its action, which basically when you spin these three spaceships, they obviously go round, but as the faster they get, the sort of more they kind of fly out. So I thought that was really good fun. But what I also really like about it is the diversity of colour that we've got here. And in that regard, the sort of Friends colour palette, as I think of it, is actually of benefit. Because one of the main rules I have for my city in designing everything is diversity. And the reason why I have that is because we don't want everything looking exactly the same, of course. So the fact that we've got a lot of purples in here, a lot of the azure colours, and even neon trans colours is actually of benefit. And I think the three cars being kind of the same, when I say cars, I mean the spaceships, but one is sort of got a trans neon green type sort of highlights. One's got a very similar colour, but that's actually trans bright green highlights. And then the other one has got trans dark pink highlights. And they've all got slightly different stickers with reflective foil on, with those colours accentuated on there as well. So I think it's a really interesting and nice set to include. Now, some people might say, why don't you actually by the Creator 3-in-1 set that's quite similar, set 31095, Fairground Carousel. That is a similar type thing in that the carousel cars kind of fly out, except on that one it's got more of a city palette, and the 4 cars are actually different on that. You've got kind of a rocket, a spaceship, a space shuttle, and even a cow, and that kind of fits in with the UFO sort of theme of the nearby farm as well. But this ride is going to be probably on the farm side, and I don't have too many alien sort of things altogether, so it might well be that I get that Fairground Carousel UFO one in addition to this, and just have it over the far side of the fairground as well, because I've got quite a large amount of space to fill, so I want to have quite a lot of rides. So this one's quite compact, as I say, so hopefully I can get this pushed right up against the entrance of the fairground, which will be kind of open plan fields, kind of the farmers' fields, being rented briefly by a travelling fair rather than a theme park or anything like that. Now, the other rule that I have in my design rules for this fairground is that everything that can be motorised has to be. So when the whole thing's finished, it will be so noisy, it'll be beyond belief, but also all of these rides will spin without manual intervention. So with that regard, I need to get a Power Functions medium motor and battery box. I've got the adjustable speed rechargeable type, but the other battery one will work, and obviously you could use powered up instead of this, and I need to get this energy into that to spin it without me being required. Now, the way that I'm planning to do this for the majority of my rides is by hiding all of these motors and all of these ugly wires and battery boxes in a kind of hidden cavity underneath the ground, kind of burying them, if you will. And how I plan to do that, I've kind of mocked up here. What I'm going to do is have the table height, say here, and then have 3 brick height supports supporting the actual genuine ground layer above it, like this. And the tables that the whole fairground will be mounted on will be deliberately set a bit lower, so they'll be sort of down here rather than up here. So this level here, the ground level, is absolutely level with the rest of the city, kind of like the farm level and all the rest of that, and where the roads are and so on. So from the external viewer perspective, it will be as if nothing happened and there was no interruption whatsoever. The rides will be on there, and then under here will be things like the motors and wires that are powering everything. So it will kind of look a bit magical, the fact that this is going around with seemingly nothing doing the work. So that is the master plan. So what we're going to do today is kind of just do a mock-up of the ground, like I said, but make the changes for this whole structure so we can have a Technic axle going all the way through this hole at the bottom. We'll have to remove these solid bricks here, through this mechanism here, up through the cylinder pieces here, up through this rocket bit, up to the top, so it is all powered from below. So we're going to have to do quite a bit of amendment to the central column. Then I don't think we'll need to do too much to the cars, except that I did buy this second hand. So you can see a lot of these stickers are actually quite scratched and damaged. That one's got a scratch and a chip there. That one's not so bad, but that one's quite badly chipped. So also I managed to get in one of my brick hauls, very cheaply actually, a spare sticker sheet for this set. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to replace any damaged stickers with their replacements, so it's looking as good as can be. So yeah, quite a lot of work ahead. Sort out the column, reattach the top, get all the motors working underneath, and then it should be ready for putting into Brick Nottingham Fairground as ride number 1. Okay, so I've made this little rig up just so we can design the mechanism to make this ride work from the motor, and I'm using this plate here to represent the table layer that will probably actually be a base plate in the room itself, and then we've got 3 height bricks before we will eventually add another layer of bright green plates, and they'll be the ground level that'll be level with the rest of the city, as I said earlier, which leaves us this 3 brick height space with which to work, which isn't a huge amount of space, I think you'll agree. So it does make the task a little bit more complicated. And the task that we're going to be doing is taking the rotation from a medium motor that will fit in the cavity, thus being hidden with all of its wiring and so on, and change that rotation that is going in this direction to a different direction to power the ride. So you see that turning direction is different from that one. But the other task that we need to do is to actually slow down the rate of the motor, because at the moment this is absolutely flying when it's turned on, and if all of that rotation was powered straight into the ride directly without any gearing, then it would fly around at such a rate of knots that you won't be able to see it. It'd probably be quite dangerous if I ever touched it, and bits would probably start flying off it or something like that. So I really want to do gearing down as well, at least that's what I call it, which is using a very small gear to power a bigger one. So every, say, 5 rotations of the small one, you only get 1 rotation of the big one. So hopefully all of that makes sense. So the first thing I think is to plug in this medium motor into this axle that I've got already in place. So you can see that that is powering that beveled gear. Then I'm going to use this little setup, and that's got the other half of the beveled gear that will sit kind of on top of this one and thus be powered by it, but also the small gear of that gearing pair. So if I just hold that in place, you'll see, anyway, yeah, bad idea, but that will turn this gear quite fast. Then that in turn will power the bigger gear, but at a much slower rate. And obviously this isn't very secure at the moment, so I'm just going to hold all of that in place with one of these Technic plates, like that. So what we're going for at this end, which hopefully we'll be able to see, is kind of a slower rotation than the original motor speed, and obviously it's turned a corner, so give that a go. There we go. And although that's quite a good rate for a ride, I think, to be spinning at, hopefully you can see that, it's quite noisy. It's slowed down quite a lot, and actually is a much more realistic speed for a ride to go. Now, we may have to modify the speed that it's turning, maybe change the ratio of these 2 gears, or even change the speed that this motor is set to, because what we do need is it to kind of splay out, don't we? Because as we saw earlier on this ride, if you don't spin it fast enough, they all just sort of stay there like that. We don't want that. We need it to be going at least enough speed to sort of start having these cars flying out at a different angle. So I'm hoping that that will be the right ratio, but for now that is what we're going to have to do. So I'm going to just add some more 3 high brick columns to support some ground, and then hopefully we can build the ride that remains onto the surface ground level. So I'm sort of boxing in all of this workings. So you see, this is how it's actually going to look from the city's perspective. And you can see absolutely none of those workings whatsoever. This hole will all be covered in due course by the purple base bit. So you can just see this is going to be completely open ground with no mechanics whatsoever. So that is the plan for all of my rides. Yeah, I think that's a good start. Right, so now for the ride itself. The first thing you can see I've added is just the very base layer, and that's actually held all of these other plates together, giving it a bit of strength, and also hidden all of that hole and that Technic plate as well, so that's all very good. And in due course I will have dark tan paths, kind of for queue lines and for just paths to link different areas of this whole fairground together. So I think that'll look good. But for now, we're just kind of working on the build desk, aren't we? So we'll have this in isolation. So the next layer after that was this kind of base layer, and that was made out of solid black bricks in the middle. So we can't use that because obviously we need the axle to go all the way through, so we'll get rid of that. And I'm going to replace them with, instead, these round bricks, 4x4 ones, because obviously they've got the hole, and that's the most important thing. So there we go. That is, next. Hopefully that stiffness doesn't slow anything down. It might make it a bit more noisy. I'll tell you what, this thing is going to be so noisy. I mean, not this particular ride. I mean, the whole fairground, when it's all done and everything's moving, because heaven knows Lego's motors are not the quietest beasts. It's just going to be pandemonium. But anyway, so there I've just added the original pieces back on because they don't actually conflict with that at all. So they're very good. And I don't think these stickers need replacing either. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they look all right. So that's good. So let's check it's still working again. Yeah. So far so good, even if it does sound like it's dying. Then the next bit is unchanged. We've got the turntable base here with just some colourful neon studs on, and then it clips into this 6x6 round plate. So I can put that on as before, and now you can see that this bit can rotate still freely, and that's what we're going to kind of clamp onto the spinning axle, so this top bit turns with the mechanism, leaving this to stay absolutely static, of course. Now at this point I need to extend this axle because it's not long enough, so I just got one of these basic connectors, and I thought I'd add some more neon studs in just to give it a bit of decor, so that's fine. So there we go, that's in there and is much higher. And then the next part of the original ride was this. So that's fine because it's got these sort of axle holes in the top and bottom. So I can actually clamp that around this. 1/2, 2/2. And again, I don't think I need to change those stickers on that bit either. And then this has got the axle hole, but it is not the hole. It's kind of got the 4 teeth on it. So this will actually bite onto the axle itself, and now when I press the power button on the motor, the whole top will rotate, and that's obviously what's going to rotate the ride. So there we go, that is the next bit. And then I better change my camera angle a little bit. Whoop, up a bit. Then we can take the arms of the cars, which go like that. And then I think I just need a very small washer. There was a red one on the original one, but I just don't know why you'd put a bright red washer at the top. Then we've got this massive dish piece, which is neon, so we'll keep that. And then we've got the old spinning handle, but I will keep that because it kind of ties everything together. It ties this, which would be free spinning piece, onto the rest. And I think it kind of caps off the whole thing. So there we go. Right, so that, I'm going to have to go even higher with my camera angle, is on the top there. And our ride is complete. So let's give it its inaugural run. Whoa! Oh, the cogs have come undone. Let me go and try and fix that. Yeah, doesn't like it. Let's go and fix that, and then we can give it another test. But the speed looked quite good, didn't it? Now, motorising all of these things is a bit of a tricky endeavour, I must say. I think in the real life fairground of Brick Nottingham, I'm going to have lots of mechanics with sort of oily rags going around with spanners or whatever, tightening things up, because they do require a bit of perfection to work well. And the problem there was that this yellow washer that you can probably just see there was not pushed right up to the top of that area, holding that little axle very firmly vertically. If it slips down, then it sort of starts to wobble a bit, and then you get that horrible disconnection and clicking noise. But I've tightened it up, so I can try and remember that for the future. And the ride, if I hold it, is not only working, but it's slightly less noisy than it was. And we've clearly got the gearing ratio absolutely perfect, because these spaceships are flying fully out at a really pleasing angle, and are, well, kind of a blur. if I'm honest, but you can still see them. So I really like that. I think that's about right. Saves me having to redo what is quite a complicated mechanism again. So yes, if you imagine this without being able to see anything that has gone on underneath, then it is a bit amazing, if you ask me, of how it's even working. And when we've got that on such a scale that we've got, maybe a dozen different rides and even stalls that are motorised, I think it should look really impressive. Right, so what is left? I need to replace the stickers, as I said earlier, where they're damaged. And I think that's mainly on these cars. And that might just be because in its previous life with its original owner, it was bashed around a lot or enjoyed very thoroughly. But that's great because that's what Lego is for after all. And then I think I'll put a few people in and we'll see how that looks as well. Well, it was only really the nose cone stickers that were pretty damaged, so I've replaced all three of those with the new ones. And they're looking nice and clean and shiny now. And it might be I can use some of these other stickers with the glitter kind of classic space symbol or something like that in some fences around this, because it'll probably need some sort of fencing. Who knows? But nonetheless, I'm sure they won't go to waste. So we've got our wonderful spinning ride that flies out with the glittery bit right in the middle there, which I quite like. So all we need now is to add some people. So I've got three, and just to adapt it for minifigures rather than mini dolls, I've just removed the tiles from the inside of each of these cars. They don't really need to be changed in any other way. They have got kind of three studs worth, and you can kind of tuck the legs underneath here or have it like that, but I just didn't think it really needed a massive reworking to get it right, so we may as well put him in that one. And then let's spin it so we can get the next one for us. Ooh, yep, that one's next. So in that one I just thought I'd put a lady, and she's also enjoying the ride with her hands in the air, waving them like she just don't care. And then for the third one, let's see if I can get that to turn up. Nope, I'm just going to do it this way. And then for the third one, I thought I'd do something different. I thought I'd have somebody who really wasn't enjoying the ride. So I thought I'd have this old man. And he's obviously misjudged the ride as a sort of child's one, perhaps. One that goes a lot slower. So he's in his old man jumper and his old man shirt, and he's got his bald head, which I like a lot, and his real panicked facial expression. You can see a tiny bit of the back one, but we'll ignore that. We'll imagine that's a stray hair coming out the back of his head. And I thought rather than just have him sat down, kind of having a panic, I thought I'd have him almost sort of exiting the ride. So what I thought I'd do is just remove this and put on this modified plate with the bar on, just so it gives him something to clip onto. And I thought if it works, I could kind of have one of his hands on that, and because it's black, you can't really see it. And then I could have his legs kind of kicking, and maybe he just sort of looks like he's. I think that's funny. He looks like he's almost falling out. Which would be very bad indeed. You'd imagine he'd get quite hurt. So let's just see if he'll stay on with the hand power alone. Yeah, he will. Now, it's still so fast that you can't actually see who's on these rides, but it won't be on for too long at a time because it's just too noisy. And if I can find the squeaky bit, I'll give it a bit of a spray with plastic lubrication because it's quite annoying. Anyway, quite a basic ride from the Friends line this week, but I think I really wanted to show you the concept of this double layer, those who haven't seen me do it before on previous rides, so you'd get what I was doing when I readjust the tables to accommodate this, which I think we'll have to do next time. Well, I think if we fill the fairground with rides half as good as this one, it will be an absolutely amazing busy area of the city, and perhaps even my favourite, though I do tend to say that about absolutely every new area that I build, that it's my favourite, but this time I really do mean it. Next Friday, I imagine we'll do the second episode of Fairground Fridays, and I am planning that I'll be adjusting all of the tables and getting the base plates all sorted so you can actually see this and maybe some of the other smaller rides that I've done actually in situ, and you'll actually see this effect that I've tried to demonstrate today actually in reality. So that'll be really good. And before then, on Monday, I am actually planning to do something very different, something that I hadn't really planned to do at all. And that was to do a bit of a video on the new road plates that Lego have released. Now, for those of you who are fans of the old style road plates, do not panic. I'm not doing a major conversion in Brick Nottingham. I couldn't face it, quite frankly. It'd take me months and it'd be a real backward step. Even though the end product might be worth having, I don't know. It depends on your opinion. I know it's split the Lego audience pretty much in half. But what I do plan to do is a video, probably on Monday, to kind of demonstrate my thoughts on how to integrate these well with existing sets and how to use them most effectively. Because I know that a lot of people are having a lot of issues with how to use them, and knowing that you can't buy the old style road plate now has really complicated matters. I mean, I really just don't understand why Lego don't have two systems in parallel, and then you can kind of pick and choose which one suits you. But anyway, so yeah, look out for that. Robin Hood Brick's thoughts on the new road plates and how to incorporate them. But as always, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome Lego videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. I've already gone through what I'm planning to do in the next week, so all that remains is to say, see you!